Atlas has returned from its passage behind the Sun, showing no tail, no evidence of melting ice, and no streaming gas, defying every expectation about how comets behave. When astronomers looked again after its October 29th perihelion, they found a compact sphere of light, calm and steady, indifferent to solar radiation, as if the Sun itself had no power over it. The discovery struck like a tremor through the scientific community because comets are supposed to burn and shed, their tails carved by sunlight and solar wind. The object brightened by a factor of 5, turned bluer than the Sun itself, and then stayed perfectly intact. Dr. Avi Loeb from Harvard calls it an anomaly that refuses to explain itself. Some researchers suggest it might be a relic of ancient physics, while others present the hypothesis that it could be something built, though this remains unconfirmed speculation. Its silent glow has become one of the most haunting questions in modern astronomy. On October 29th, 3I Atlas made its closest approach to the Sun at a distance of about 203 million kilometers. At that moment, it absorbed 770 watts of solar radiation per square meter, enough energy to boil ice and tear molecules apart. This was supposed to be the climax of its journey, the moment it erupted in gas and dust, forming a blazing tail like every other comet in the solar catalogue. Instead, telescopes recorded something unprecedented in astronomical observations. The object grew 5 times brighter in hours, yet it showed no signs of vaporization. Instruments that should have detected plumes of sublimating ice found none. Solar observatories recorded a color shift that left astronomers speechless. 3I Atlas had become bluer than the Sun itself, a shade no comet has ever produced in recorded history. Normally, comets glow red because their surfaces are cooler, scattering the Sun's light through dust particles. But blue implies heat, metal, and reflection characteristics. Not melting snowballs, but something that reflects energy with surgical precision. Dr. Loeb's first thought was simple, yet unsettling. If it is brightening without shedding, something else is powering it. When he ran the numbers, Loeb realized that if outgassing alone caused its acceleration, it must have lost at least 10% of its mass, maybe 20%. That equals billions of tons of matter ejected into space. Yet the void around it was pristine, perfectly clean. The cosmos showed no trace of what should have been a comet's funeral shroud of debris and vapor. Days later came the photographs that forced every scientist to stop and stare. The same telescope that had just imaged a solar system comet called Lemon, displaying the textbook tail sweeping away from the Sun, turned its gaze to 3I Atlas. What it captured did not match anything in the astrophysical record. There was no tail, no plume, no fan of gas, just a circular glowing blur identical to what had been seen months earlier when it was still far from solar heat. If it were a normal comet, the solar wind should have sculpted a luminous streamer stretching millions of kilometers. Instead, 3I Atlas looked untouched, immune to radiation. One observer wrote that it was as if the Sun had no influence at all. The comparison image with Comet Lemon became an emblem of disbelief. Lemon displayed its elegant arc of light, while Atlas remained a stubborn sphere of mystery. The contradiction was too perfect to ignore. 2 comets, 2 identical observation conditions. One behaves as physics dictates, the other rewrites physics altogether. The simplest explanation, though not confirmed, is that it is not a comet at all, but no one dares to write that sentence definitively in a scientific paper without more evidence. Then came the measurements that shook orbital mechanics itself. 3I Atlas was not following the gravitational path predicted by Newton's equations. It was accelerating slowly, smoothly, but undeniably. If gravity alone governed its motion, this deviation could not exist. The object displayed non-gravitational acceleration that required explanation. Dr. Loeb's calculation suggested that to produce that level of non-gravitational acceleration naturally, the object would need to expel enormous jets of gas. Yet those jets would be visible in any telescope capable of detecting them, and they were not. No dust, no vapor, no radiation spike appeared in any observation. It was as if an invisible hand was guiding it through space. Loeb's estimate was brutal in its implications. If this were genuine outgassing, the object would have lost at least 1/10 of its entire mass, leaving a massive visible cloud that telescopes would easily detect. Nothing appeared. Instead, the object continued serenely along its course, neither slowing nor fragmenting. The equations no longer worked within standard cometry models. And in science, when the math stops working, something fundamental has been misunderstood or something new has entered the stage. While orbital data baffled dynamicists, spectral readings stunned chemists studying the object's composition. 3I Atlas was bleeding nickel in quantities far greater than iron, a ratio that simply does not exist in natural cosmic dust catalogued from thousands of solar system observations. On Earth, that composition appears only in industrial alloys, metals designed specifically to endure corrosion and heat. Even stranger, its polarization data, the way light twists after bouncing off its surface, was far outside any known range for a comet. Natural ice and rock scatter light, predictably based on well-understood physics. Atlas did not follow these patterns. Its polarization was extreme, negative, chaotic, as though the surface were engineered to manipulate reflection in ways natural objects do not. Dr. Loeb listed these among nearly 10 separate anomalies observed in 3I Atlas: the color shift, the unusual composition, the trajectory deviation, the lack of a tail, the nickel signature, the alignment with the planetary plane, even its proximity to the location of the mysterious 1977 WOW signal. Each could perhaps be coincidence individually. Together they built a mosaic of improbability so dense that calling it random felt dishonest to the data. Maybe, Loeb admitted carefully, this trajectory was designed by some intelligence. This remains a hypothesis requiring verification, not a proven fact. For a man of science, those words carried the weight of significant consideration. Yet he said them based on the accumulation of anomalies that defied simple explanation. The more researchers examined its orbit, the harder it became to dismiss potential intent, though natural explanations remain possible. 3I Atlas travels in the plane of the planets, threading almost perfectly through the ecliptic, something no previous interstellar visitor has done. It swept near Mars, Venus, and Jupiter with uncanny precision, as if using their gravity for subtle course adjustments, though this could be coincidental. When plotted backward, its path seemed tailored to slip behind the Sun at the exact moment Earth was on the opposite side, an alignment that hid it from direct observation during its brightest phase. Statistically, the chance of such geometry happening by accident is about 0.05%. Randomness does not hide that efficiently, suggesting either extraordinary coincidence or something else. It was as if the object knew where our instruments were and chose a moment when our planet could not see, though this interpretation remains speculative. When asked what that meant, Loeb's answer was quiet but telling. Perhaps we are simply not the only ones navigating the cosmos. This statement represents hypothesis, not confirmed fact. As public curiosity surged, Loeb found himself briefing members of the United States Congress, explaining the data in the simplest terms possible. He reminded them that science follows evidence, not belief. That ignoring data had once kept the Vatican from looking through Galileo's telescope. The Earth, he said, had circled the sun billions of times before religion conceded the truth, and it will continue to do so, no matter what people choose to believe. His message was clear. Look at the evidence. The images showing no tail, the measured acceleration, the missing debris cloud. They are real, verifiable, measurable. These are observations, not interpretations. Lawmakers listened, fascinated and uneasy about the implications. Some asked whether any of our rockets could intercept it for closer study. Loeb had to tell them the truth based on trajectory calculations. No current technology can reach it. 3I Atlas is traveling 3 times faster than our fastest spacecraft and is roughly 50 times larger than SpaceX's Starship. Nothing on Earth can catch it, given current propulsion capabilities. The room fell silent at this revelation. When the universe sends something you cannot reach, you are left only with observation and humility. The limitation defines our current technological boundaries and emphasizes the importance of telescopic observations. Loeb tried to keep the conversation anchored in science and evidence. He emphasized that the simplest explanation might still be natural. A massive icy rock formed in an exotic environment shaped by conditions unknown to our solar system. Maybe its anomalies were the product of ancient chemistry, not intelligence. This remains the null hypothesis scientists must test against. But even that conservative view carried profound implications for astronomy. If nature can craft something that behaves this precisely, then the universe is far stranger than we imagined. And if it is not natural, if 3I Atlas is technological, then we are staring at evidence of another civilization, one capable of surviving the interstellar gulf. Either possibility changes our understanding fundamentally, though neither is proven. When asked if humanity should worry, Loeb half smiled and said only if it sends probes to Earth. My hope is that we will not receive an unwanted gift for Christmas. The remark was light-hearted, but behind it lay the unease of every astronomer watching the data stream in. December 19th, the date of its closest approach to Earth, was approaching fast. Now, as telescopes worldwide continue tracking it, 3I Atlas drifts steadily closer to its Earth flyby point. It remains a glowing tailless sphere, indifferent to heat, untouched by radiation, sailing through the solar wind as if physics were optional. The lack of typical cometary behavior continues to puzzle observers using every available instrument. The Galileo Project observatories, including the newest installation in Las Vegas, keep their instruments trained on the sky, hoping for one more clue, one more deviation, one more flash of meaning. These observations represent coordinated scientific efforts to understand the object's nature through empirical data collection. The US Pentagon's new all-domain Anomaly Resolution Office, created to study unidentified phenomena, claims it has no evidence of anything extraterrestrial. Maybe that is true based on their current data. Or maybe what is happening now lies outside their jurisdiction, beyond defense considerations, beyond political frameworks. Because if 3I Atlas is natural, it still forces us to rewrite the physics of comets based on observed behavior. And if it is not natural, then we are witnessing something unprecedented. A visitor that passes through our neighborhood without speaking, without burning, without leaving a trace except for the questions echoing through every scientific mind that dares to look at the data. The observational evidence continues accumulating through multiple independent sources. Every telescope that examines 3I Atlas confirms the same anomalies. No tail where one should exist, blue coloration where red is expected. acceleration where only gravitational motion should occur, nickel ratios that do not match natural abundances. For months, scientists have studied it, debated it, doubted their instruments, recalibrated, and measured again. But none have explained it within standard cometry models. The data remains consistent across all observations. The anomalies persist regardless of which telescope observes or which team analyzes the results. The trajectory analysis reveals additional puzzles. Every comet that has ever passed near the Sun has obeyed the same physics. Heat causes expansion, sublimation, and material release. They glow, they develop tails, and they gradually disintegrate. But not this one. It came from outside our system, potentially older than our planet based on interstellar travel times, entered on a trajectory so precise it threaded the needle of our solar plane. The object brightened like a flare as predicted, but then turned bluer than the Sun, contrary to all models. No gases were detected despite the energy input. No debris appeared despite calculated mass loss requirements. No sound in the metaphorical sense of expected signals. Just stillness where chaos should reign. If this is natural, then the universe has physical processes we have not yet learned to recognize. Alternative compositions, exotic ices, or formation conditions in alien stellar systems might explain some anomalies. But explaining all of them simultaneously challenges current understanding. And if it is not natural, then the implications extend beyond astronomy into questions about intelligence and technology in the cosmos, though this remains unconfirmed hypothesis. When Dr. Loeb looked at the data, he saw more than numbers and measurements. He saw a lesson about humility, about how little we understand of objects formed in other stellar systems. Ignoring data, he said, is like refusing to look through Galileo's telescope. It does not change what is out there. The Earth moved around the Sun billions of times before anyone admitted it. The universe does not wait for our permission to be real. 3i. Atlas reminds us of that fundamental truth. It does not care what we believe, what we publish in journals, or how uncomfortable its behavior makes established theories. It just keeps moving fast, silent, and defiant of our expectations, carrying its secrets beyond the reach of our rockets, beyond the limits of our current technology. The December 19th closest approach to Earth offers one final opportunity for detailed observations. Maybe the next set of images will reveal the truth. A simple rock forged in a distant star with exotic properties, or something more deliberate, more precise in its construction. But maybe we will not get definitive answers. Maybe it will slip back into the void, leaving us with only questions and the faint echo of what might have been. The comparison with known comets remains stark and undeniable. When that telescope imaged Comet Lemon and 3i Atlas under identical conditions, the difference was absolute. One showed the graceful tail of sublimating ices streaming millions of kilometers. The other showed a compact sphere of light, unchanged from months earlier. Two objects, same solar heating, completely different responses. The spectroscopic anomalies add another layer of mystery. The unusual nickel to iron ratios do not match any natural cosmic dust in our catalogues. These ratios typically trace back to the original stellar nursery where an object formed. Different stars produce different elemental abundances based on their fusion processes and eventual deaths. The ratios in 3i Atlas suggest formation conditions unlike anything in our solar system. The polarization measurements push even further outside normal parameters. Light interacting with natural ice and rock produces predictable polarization patterns. Scientists have measured thousands of comets and asteroids, building robust models of how surfaces scatter light. 3i Atlas breaks these models with extreme negative polarization values that suggest surface properties we do not understand. Dr. Loeb's list of nearly 10 anomalies represents careful scientific documentation. Each anomaly has been independently verified by multiple observations. The color change from red to blue contradicts thermal models. The missing tail defies sublimation physics. The acceleration exceeds gravitational calculations. The composition ratios break natural patterns. The orbital alignment challenges probability. The timing of solar passage during Earth blindness strains coincidence. Together, these anomalies form a pattern that science cannot yet explain within standard frameworks. Natural explanations remain possible, but increasingly complex. Each new observation adds constraints that any theory must satisfy. The simplest natural explanation requires exotic formation conditions, unusual compositions, and remarkable coincidences. Alternative explanations venture into unconfirmed territory about artificial origins. The briefing to Congress highlighted the scientific method in action. Evidence drives conclusions, not preconceptions. The data about 3i Atlas exists independently of human belief systems. Telescopes record photons. Spectrographs measure wavelengths. Computers calculate trajectories. These measurements persist regardless of interpretation. The technological limitations frustrate scientists eager for closer examination. Traveling 3 times faster than our fastest spacecraft, 3i Atlas remains forever beyond physical reach. Its size, roughly 50 times larger than SpaceX's Starship, would dwarf any probe we could send. We remain limited to remote observation, gathering every photon of information before the object escapes detection. Range. The Galileo Project observatories represent humanity's best effort at systematic observation. Multiple telescopes coordinate observations, cross-checking results, and eliminating instrumental errors. The newest installation in Las Vegas adds additional capability to the network. Every clear night brings new data, new measurements, new confirmations of the continuing anomalies. The Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office statement provides official perspective. They claim no evidence of anything extraterrestrial based on their analysis. This position reflects current governmental assessment, while scientific investigation continues independently. The separation between defense concerns and scientific inquiry remains important for objective analysis. As the object approaches its December 19th closest Earth approach, observation campaigns intensify. Every major telescope capable of detecting 3i Atlas has scheduled observation time. The data collected during this period will define our understanding for decades to come. Once the object passes beyond detection range, no future observations will be possible. The void around 3i Atlas remains pristine, despite calculations showing billions of tons of material should have been ejected. This absence of debris represents one of the strongest anomalies. Mass cannot simply disappear. If the object lost mass to produce its observed acceleration, that mass must exist somewhere. Yet no telescope detects it. The material seems to have vanished or never existed. The acceleration itself creates mathematical challenges. Non-gravitational forces in space require mass ejection or external forces. For comets, asymmetric outgassing creates thrust, but 3i Atlas shows acceleration without visible outgassing. The force source remains unidentified within standard physics. Alternative explanations venture into hypotheses about advanced propulsion, though this remains unconfirmed. The color evolution from normal to bluer than the Sun suggests fundamental changes in surface properties or composition. Temperature alone cannot explain this shift. Something about how the object interacts with sunlight changed dramatically near perihelion. Yet the object remained intact, showing no signs of the thermal stress that should accompany such changes.